Funky politics.
There's no way that a black person, a Muslim person, or any person of color or alternative religion other than white Anglo-Saxon can look at that flag and call this place, America, as their home.
And welcome to the Funky Politics, powered by the KUDZUKIAN Network. My name is Lee Eric Smith. We're joined by a classic host here of Funky Politics. None other than DC is back on the mic with us.
Do they call me classic?
Yeah, like Coca-Cola classic.
It's like a throwback kind of thing.
What they do? They didn't Coca-Cola classic. They just threw it away, right?
Yeah, they put.
Hey, look. What's up, y'all? What's up, Funky Politics?
So I get to play point guard here on the show today. Pass the ball to two of the greatest scorers in Funky Politics history.
Well, if you're gonna be a point guard, you got to have a point.
I'm pretty pointless in that case.
Doc Ward, man.
I'm just gonna pass the ball and watch y'all shoot.
Look. You can be the point guard and have a point, or you can be the shooting guard and just say I'll shoot, or you can be forward with your politics and be the power forward. So are you gonna power forward, or are you just gonna shoot?
I'm on power forward.
All right, go ahead.
And we're going to go with this because y'all can tell it is going to be a funky show. It's already a funky show.
Yeah.
I always like to make sure we get to this special part of the show at the very beginning where we hear from Doc Ward, where he goes.
No, I'm not good with plans. It's got to be spontaneous. Genius is always filled with spontaneity. It's never planned.
Did you say genius?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's something you would know anything about.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
When they start that? How do you spell that? But anyway, whatever,
it's
man.
It's great to have you back. I said, when I'm in the studio, I need to be in for the fight. So somebody just bring me something. Bring me a punching bag, something I can beat up on. And they brought me you. I look at it like that. Hey, I must be.
What you trying to say about DC, man?
Look, man. Hey, look. Well, you want to talk about a punching bag.
Yeah, go ahead.
Man, ASAP Rocky. What happened, man? What?
Guilty.
What?
Guilty.
They say ASAP hit a dude, man. They hit a dude.
Yeah.
Well, guilty.
Well, he got into it. I mean, when you're in the game.
Yeah.
People are always trying to do something.
Did you say gang?
Hold on. So, guys, hold on. Let me bring our listeners up to speed. So, for listeners who were not aware, there is a rapper. His name is ASAP Rocky, right?
They got to really be bad.
Look, I didn't know who ASAP Rocky was before this story. So
yeah, we got some pretty astute listeners.
Well, my dear grandmother's one.
I'm a man of a certain age. I would not know about ASAP Rocky were it not for President 45 tweeting that he hopes he was talking about getting involved with it, and that's when I started paying attention to this story.
Right.
Apparently, a Swedish jury has found ASAP Rocky guilty of assault.
Right.
What does that mean? What does it mean to be in a Swedish jail?
It means he'll never be in a Swedish jail because he's already out of the country, I thought.
Yeah, he's home.
He's home. He was home before he was convicted, so he won't do it.
Well, I'm confused about this. So, President Trump and Kim Kardashian West, or was it North or East, whatever her name is. So they all get on this bandwagon to get ASAP Rocky freed,
right? Because that's prison reform.
that's
prison reform,
first steps.
Man.
I got a few friends. I'm gonna refer
reform.
to Kim Kardashian West, man.
Prison reform is if you get in prison, call Kim Kardashian, and she will reform you, and you will be free.
Centolia Brown? I mean, Now these are good things, right? Because we got some folks that were locked up, man. Well, I didn't want to put Centolia in that deal because she's on a whole nother level. ASAP is something else, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, no, the thing about it that makes it so funky is that this is actually being branded in some people's minds as a form of prison reform, which we know is a much more complex concept than what's being produced and what this administration is crediting itself with having won the proverbial victory on. Now there's a lot associated with prison reform other than someone just getting out of jail or getting a reduced sentence.
In what world does prison reform in the U.S. have anything to do with courts in Sweden?
Absolutely none.
In Donald Trump's world,
absolutely none.
Apparently.
But we're talking about the Trump world now, where anything I do is going to get pushed in and categorized in some aspect of my administration. I don't think he really did much of anything. I think they just decided to let him go because they didn't want to hear from the president. So then he went back home and went back to his bidding. The trial went on. The adjudication went on because there still were victims. He was found guilty, and that's pretty much that.
Well, speaking of victims.
And they may take it up if he ever comes back to Sweden again.
Well, speaking of victims, there's one person that, he went out. He went out his way.
Who's that?
Jeffrey Epstein. just the other day. I mean, Jeffrey Epstein, they found him in his cell. He was
victim of what?
Well, I mean, no. There's victims. No. There are victims that will never get their day in court to face this guy, right?
Oh,
that's my point.
Yeah, okay.
And so Jeff took the cheap way out, is what he did to himself, right? Well, that's what it's alleged. Now, of course, there were these tweeters in service, or tweeters in charge, that said that President Clinton and Hillary Clinton had something to do with this guy's death. Have you all ever seen in your life a leader say the most bizarre crap in the world? This guy is nuts.
Well, I think,
not Jeffrey, but 45. Go ahead.
Well, I think, I'd like to have him here on Funky Politics by the KUDZUKIAN Network so I could get all of his take on everything.
So, Mr. President, this is DC saying, would you please come on the chair?
The first thing that came to my mind was, what is the distraction? What is getting ready to happen? What is the news story that we're missing? Yeah. What is the thing we're missing? Because he says, every time he says something that's extreme, it's usually to draw out the news media.
We're talking about what he said relative to Epstein now?
Well, he said relative to Epstein, then, but then he said some other stuff since then, and it's, that's what he does. He is the proverbial, I use the word a lot now, the Trojan horse, so to speak. He's going to trot out the Trojan horse, which is the conspiracy theory about Bill and Hillary Clinton, which we all know is far-fetched, to say the least.
What, Trojan?
Seemingly at this point.
I don't think Donald Trump is trying to distract from anything. I think he's just mostly clueless. Like I just
no.
For him to be trying to be
period.
Just trying to the idea of him trying to distract from anything would indicate that he had a plan. I haven't seen anything about this man that indicates that he has a plan.
Oh wow!
For anything beyond like making sure he has the biggest crowd.
He's got a plan for 2020.
He absolutely has
his
a plan.
Plan for 2020 is what? It's to do exactly what we're doing.
He has a plan.
We're getting distracted by what he said, right?
Right.
Instead of the policies that are failed under this guy. It's like this trade imbalance right now we got going on in our country now. So now he throws out this he lobs, we're going to put $300 billion worth of tariffs on all these Chinese things. Right. And he doesn't realize that China's not going to pay any of this stuff.
Yes,
once it hits our shores, no. It's Americans that are going to be paying this tax.
Right.
Yeah,
but he's nuts, man.
See, he would have had to have planned to really understand that who these tariffs are going to impact. That's what I'm getting at. It's, I can't help but think of this guy in the movie. You remember
but how do you know,
Dark Knight?
How do you know it's not on purpose, though?
The one with the Batman movie with Heath Ledger, right?
Yeah.
And remember when he was talking about as the Joker, he was like, I don't have a plan. I just like to do stuff. Right, and he blows up hospitals. That's who I think is scary.
But how do you know that he doesn't
have
the Joker? How do you know that he doesn't have a plan? Because in the midst of all of this, everything that's happening, the Chinese economy doesn't seem to be faltering too much.
No, not at all. Not like ours.
The country that they absolutely subsidize 100%, North Korea, doesn't seem to be faltering too much. They're not only are they continuing to make weapons, they're making weapons stronger and better than ever before. You don't see them having an issue. You don't see Russia having an issue. You don't see anybody in that axis having an issue. And the reason why is because the agitator of all these countries, the one that kept them in line, was always the U.S. The U.S. being out of the way now. And with us being so focused on cultural issues and our own internal issues, how do you know that this is not part of the plan? The plan just may not belong to him exclusively. It may belong to the entire group of those Eastern Bloc countries that are having a plan, which is, of course, we know, dominating the world economy.
Do you think, well, speaking of economy, do you guys think that he's trying to get us on the brink of recession so he can miraculously, that's why I'm talking, bring us back from this brink of abyss to say, I'm better than Obama. Look what I did. I came up with a $10 trillion plan to get us back solvent again. I mean, this guy, to me, we're getting ready. We're on the precipice of dang near a recession.
If he runs this country to a recession just to prove that he can get us out of it after
you don't think he won't do it?
Out of the next one, he won't get a chance to get 4 years to prove it.
You don't think he'll do it?
I don't. I think it's way too politically risky to do it. Who's going to vote for you? Because the people that are going to get hurt the most, if you look at the demographic of people that vote for Donald Trump, who's going to get hurt the most by the effects of a recession today?
The poor guy.
It's going to be middle class, the working poor, those that are farmers, industrial folks. They're not.
The farmers are already hurt.
They're going to get hurt directly.
The farmers are,
and the people that work for the farmers, and the people that work the farmland.
I'm just fascinated by the fact that both of y'all are still talking about this dude like he has a plan.
Again, we're distracted, right?
Right.
That big word. We're distracted.
To your point, Doc. What I was saying was, all of this stuff is happening, like you mentioned in China, and the question is, how do we know he doesn't have a plan? At some point, if you have a plan, you start to see a pattern. And
I'm seeing a pattern. I'm seeing
pattern I see with this guy is He ain't got no plan.
But the point I'm trying to make is it's not his plan. He's part of someone else's, or he's planning it with someone else. It's kind of thing where you say either you're in on it or you're too dumb to understand where you are.
I'm too dumb.
Either way is dangerous for what we've got going forward. And either way, you've got to try to find some alternative. I don't know what that is. You got to change your ways or we got to change you. Well, either way, change is the buzzword.
Change is happening right now. Lee, what you got?
And dear listener, see how funky it gets and how quick it gets funky.
Yes, sir.
You're listening to Funky Politics, powered by the KUDZUKIAN Network. I'm Lee Smith, alongside Doc Ward and DC, back in the chair.
Yes, sir.
Shout out to Tasha D. We love you. Take care.
The Rainmaker.
Yes, and we'll see you back in the seat soon. But don't go away, listener. We'll be back right here on Funky Politics.
I expect to go to Coachella in a helicopter. I want
Coachella in a helicopter.
Moroccan type.
This is why we came to the KUDZUKIAN Network.
The next Beachella, they gonna drop us on the stage. It's gonna be like BNP said. We gonna sell out under black people and make me feel safer.
It's amazing.
Yes.
Absolutely amazing.
You sell out with white people is scary.
I know.
I feel like with the people here at KUDZUKIAN, once we sell out, like they'll be the ones to be like, all right, y'all acting real light skin.
Simmer down.
Right
Y'all acting real light skin.
Black Nerd Power on the KUDZUKIAN Network.
KUDZUKIAN, more of what you're fucking for.
And welcome back to Funky Politics, powered by the KUDZUKIAN Network. My name's Lee Eric Smith, alongside Doc Ward. And back out of retirement or wherever he's been is DC.
Sabbatical. Just sabbatical.
Sabbatical, that's what we'll call it.
Back out of that box.
And in the empty chair is popcorn, because I just pop popcorn and watch these two go at it.
Whatever.
Back out of that box.
It's classic.
We turned the lever too many times and the box popped up.
Jack in the box.
Jack in the box.
Yeah,
I'm back, baby. Whatever.
But another funky episode of the Funky Politics, and it's just so much funky stuff going on in the news right now.
Man, speaking of funky, Lord have mercy. Marcus, I thought I saw you down there in one of them doggone cages, Doc. Man, let me tell you something.
That's
what
not
is
funny,
going on? It's not funny, but no, it's not
you
funny.
never cease to be politically incorrect.
No,
At least you're consistent. That's one thing
I am consistent. You know what? How in the world do we still allow human beings to be caged and say, oh, no, we're not doing that? But you are doing that, man. You are doing it, right? What's going on?
Well, so the latest that we've been hearing, obviously, we're still feeling the reverberations of the ICE raid in Mississippi.
At the chicken plant.
Children coming home from school and finding their parents were taken away. And you see that little video of that little girl crying because she's missing her daddy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how your heart doesn't break. Like, even if you're the most hardcore Republican, they got to go back to where they came from kind of person. I can't see how you watch.
Are you calling me that? You're looking at me like really strange.
I am looking through you.
Oh, wow. Wow.
To the conservative Republican on the other side. But no, I just don't understand how. And I think there are enough of them, even if they wouldn't admit it publicly, but they see that little girl crying. There's some part of them that's like, that hurts.
What are we doing?
It just hurts.
What are we doing as a nation of people? A nation of believers, a nation of Christians for the most part. A lot of people are what they consider Christians in this country, right, Doc?
Well, I don't know how much of it's faith-based.
Okay, faith believers.
And I don't know how much of it is just the general morality of mankind. But I do know that there's an escalating policy right now that actually not only affects those who have recently crossed the border or recently sought asylum in the United States.
That's right.
But also for those who have been here for some time working now, there's policy that is being passed that would put them in the perils of deportation because they are relying on government assistance. And what you see essentially from that is that the greater weight of immigrants that are being threatened for deportation now it's always probably going to be Texas, but the number 2 area now is Louisiana and Mississippi. Not sense. California, not Arizona, not New Mexico, but Louisiana and Mississippi.
Cheap labor.
Well, I understand the reason
cheap
why.
labor.
I understand the reason why immigrants go to those states.
Sure.
But
work.
The more important part to me is that you're seeing this rebirth, this re-emanation of racism throughout the South, the Southeast.
And it looks a little different because it seems to be more focused on the brown people than the blacks, right?
Right. And when you don't have a situation where people are imported for slavery like Africans were back in the 1600s, you have people that are crossing the border to work and find better lives. It's just another slave situation. It's the way that they're being treated. It's the perception of how they're being treated, all under this guise of following the law. If you notice, when these raids are going on, they are not going after any employers.
It is fair to note that.
I want to remind you something.
Now,
they say, the employers are saying, I use the E-Verify system. Now, anybody that's ever worked in HR knows all you have to do, you bring your license or passport or social. If I bring you that and you look at it and that's what I gave you, then that's what I gave you. Now, if I'm a blonde-headed guy and my name is Shaniqua, then that's probably not going to happen, right? I mean, you're going to say, well, this is not your ID. But what happens when it is,
that doesn't sound that outrageous anymore.
I mean, to be honest with you.
We're in a new day.
But that's what happens. But these employers are saying, look, they're bringing me the ID.
Right.
And then sometimes I will hire out. I will use a temp company. And the temp company is responsible for what? For placing these folks at their work sites. And they do the vetting. So I hire your temp company, Doc Ward, right, to bring me 200 workers, and you did that,
right?
And you say all these folks cleared.
Yeah.
So now I'm stuck. I've got a legitimate business that I'm cutting up chickens and skinning them and gutting them, and all of a sudden now you come and Lee Eric he raids my facility.
But if you know,
I'm listening.
But if you know, and you know by practice that you have people there that may not be legally in the country.
No, I can't say it because they speak differently. Because they speak differently. That's not right.
Not because they speak differently. Because you've had people investigating you for hiring people that are illegal.
Nobody's ever come to me. Not one of those companies in the state of Mississippi was ever approached by ICE or by Homeland Security and said, "Look, we believe that you all have suspect employees." Nobody said that to them. Nobody said a word to them. They went in and they raided those businesses, and they should have given those businesses an opportunity to say, look, let me show you what I've got. Let me show you what was presented to me by these temp companies. Come on now. Come on, Doc.
Well, I just don't understand.
You're a businessman.
I am a businessman. And I also believe that if you're going to go after anyone, you go after the business owner. You don't go after the person. Since when was it illegal to go out and look for a job? And if you know good and doggone well that if you've got a number of immigrant workers in your state, in your company, no matter how many people in your company, you owe it to your company to do the due diligence to make sure that you have the proper controls in place. You shouldn't have to wait for ICE to come and tell you that you might have illegal immigrants.
What does an immigrant look like in today's time?
An immigrant looks like. I'll tell you what an immigrant looks like.
Lee Eric, what does an immigrant look like?
I'll tell you what an immigrant looks like. An immigrant looks like somebody that does not have the proper documentation or the authentic documentation to assume the job and have the credentials. No, it's not racist. Not if you have to have the credentials.
This is Funky Politics powered by the KUDZUKIAN Network. One of the things that concerns me about this whole thing, man, is just, the bottom line is there are certain people who are making a whole lot of money. And the people who had the money are the people who own these plants. And if you are a corporate engine, like some of these are like Coke Foods or whatever,
right?
You have the resources, you have the legal means to make sure that you don't go to jail, and you got privilege. I doubt very seriously that there's a man named Martinez running Coke Foods. I'm just saying.
Well, it could be somewhere.
No, you don't. Yes, you have all those things. That's the whole point of it. And we know that this is just a target to give those Hispanic or people from Hispanic countries, from Guatemala, from Honduras, from Mexico, and Latina, from Central America, pause about coming into this country.
But it's not just about that. It's about fear, man. This whole
it's driven by fear.
Yeah.
But the action of that is to try to limit the number of people that can actually legally come into this country from Central America, from South America, from Mexico, not from Europe, not from Asia, not from Canada, but from those countries, the Latina countries or countries where, and I hate to say it because everybody's saying it, where you have brown and black people. Yeah.
We do have laws on immigration, and if those laws are not being followed, now hold on now.
Who says they're not being followed?
No, they're not being followed.
How are they not being followed? What law is not being followed?
So when you go down to this plant, the PH
what law is not being followed?
I'm going to tell you. If you present at our border and you say, I'm seeking asylum, I'm from Guatemala, and I'm seeking asylum because there is something that's happening in my country, my home country.
Sure.
They're raping women. They are killing the firstborn male. Then you have the right to seek asylum at our border, right?
You do.
Well, this president said, well, I need you to go to Mexico first. I need you to stop there, and you need to apply for that for our country. That's not right. That's not right.
What's the administration?
But what's happening is you got those folks who are illegally coming across our borders, and they're working in our country.
All right,
coming
so
across.
DC,
Come on now, Lyric. Y'all, come on now.
Let's roll this all the way back, because the conservative argument against showing some compassion at the border is we don't want no open borders, right? And so
the border is open.
No. But my question
porous. It's poor, and it's porous.
Listen, if we were going to have an immigration policy that wasn't an open border policy, but still showed people who are trying to escape these horrible conditions some respect, some basic decency for their humanity, what would that policy look like?
Well,
how can you have?
Well, you can't say, okay, if you got 200,000 to show up at your southern border, 200,000 show up at your southern border. Well, everybody's going to apply for what? For asylum, okay?
Right. That's why they're coming here.
Hold on, I've got to give him the option to apply for something. Now, if you're just jumping the fence or you're crossing a porous border and you don't present at one of our checkpoints, then I need to get you out of this country until you do what? You apply the right way.
Sure, I don't think anybody disagrees with that.
Well, you are disagreeing with me.
I'm not disagreeing
because
with that.
The border is porous, and you can't come across the Rio Grande. You swim the Rio Grande, and you hear, I'm in Texas now. I'm going to start a family. They know that if they have a baby on this soil, they know it. That child is what? Is
but
now
how many of those
legal resident of this country.
Let me ask you a question.
Plenty of them, Doc.
How many of those people are posing the existential threat that this administration has ballooned up to be such a threat? I mean, that's really the issue.
It's wage suppression. Think about it. It's wage suppression.
What's the wave?
I said wage suppression.
What's the wage?
Okay,
I mean, are you saying wages in
wage?
Money?
Yeah, money. Okay. So if Koch Brothers, this is not Koch Brothers, this is Koch Industries,
Koch Foods.
Koch Foods. So guess what? You won't pay the $25 an hour. You won't pay
Koch Foods. What is that? I never heard it before.
It's KOC.
When you're in the throat, no, but you need to be.
I'm not gonna worry about it.
You need to be.
He knows what I'm saying.
You do it 3 words. We're real, right, and funky. I don't know what Koch Foods is. You need to tell people what that is. I never heard of it in my life.
It's a food processing company. Oh, no. There's Koch Brothers and there's Koch Foods.
Doc, hold on.
Okay.
Go ahead and finish making your point.
But my point, though, Lee Eric, is that simply put, is that you've got wages that are being suppressed by what? Anybody who will take that particular position, and they know the job pays $7.25. There's no reason to pay you $12 an hour to what? To split chickens, because I know I can get 1,500 Lee Erics down there who's going to do this work for $7.25 or less, and then I can screw him out of his money. I can screw him out of his if I want to.
I mean, it's
modern day slavery. It's slavery. That's what it is, Doc.
America has always thrived on cheap and free labor. And
mostly
they're always
free labor,
even from its citizens. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter that you come from across the border. If you look at what's happening right now as we celebrate the anniversary of the first Africans that were brought here to Jamestown.
We're celebrating that?
Well, we commemorate. Excuse me. That was extremely faux pas on my part. But as we note it and note the occurrence,
yes, sir.
One thing that we're talking about now in the news is that the wealth gap and the wage gap amongst cultural lines only continues to widen. So it doesn't really matter if you come across the border legally, if you jump the fence, if you ride a horse, if you come on a boat, whatever. If you're in this country and your skin is not white, you're going to be making exponentially less than your counterparts. Period. End of sentence. So all this talk about what the threat is, as I said, existential threat of immigrants, which is the whole reason why we're supposed to be dealing with this anyway.
Yes, sir.
Is all a bunch of Koch Brothers foods. That's what it is. It's fictitious. It's fictitious. It's garbage.
It's chicken leftovers.
It's garbage, and we need to be focusing on the real issues that are affecting our cultural divide.
And we got to go to break. Listener, don't go away. It is real, right, and funky right here on Funky Politics. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
I ain't scared of you, mother.
The Chairman's Perspective.
Hi, this is Lee Eric Smith. Let's take a look inside Shelby County government as we unleash some of the views of our very own Chairman of the Shelby County Commission, Van Turner. The Chairman's Perspective on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, KUDZUKIAN.com, or your favorite podcast provider.
The Chairman's Perspective on the KUDZUKIAN Network.
KUDZUKIAN. Funky Politics.
We're back on Funky Politics, powered by the KUDZUKIAN Network. Lee Smith alongside Doc Ward and DC.
I'm right here with you, Brother Lee and Brother Doc.
I was just, DC, I just got to tell you, man. I mean, we did this show for a while. A lot of good episodes.
Yeah.
And I was telling Lee, just how intense you were as a co-host, how good it was to have you here, and how I was hoping that we could keep the same energy going that you brought, because you're really iconic in this thing.
Wow.
And then my buzz wore off.
I was wondering why he's been so dang nice.
I was about to say, and then he realized he had to settle for me.
Yeah, I had to go home, and drink some water, and then we were back.
Whatever.
But it is good having you back on the show.
Man, I like the Rainmaker. I ain't studying you. I like
and
the
we're
Rainmaker.
sponsored by our proud new sponsor, Koch Brothers Foods.
Here
Brought to us by
we
DC.
go.
Well, you can get your chicken
In
split.
his dreams.
You can get your chicken split and you get your half done with the same grease. But anyway, here we go.
We are mere days away from the beginning of the NFL season.
Oh.
Are you ready for some football?
And we got news this week
Isn't that racist or something?
that the NFL.
Okay, I take it back again. It's the second thing.
We got news this week that the NFL partnered with Jay-Z's company, Rock Nation.
Beyonce? The one that Beyonce owns? I'm sorry.
We know she at least owns half of it.
Yes, sir.
Partnered with Rock Nation to on several initiatives, among them some social justice initiatives to really address some of the concerns
excuse me. Did you say you say social justice in the NFL?
Social justice? There's the arrangement is supposed to push forward, some of the social justice concerns
DC gave
raised by
he did Scooby-Doo. He said, "Brr."
raised by the kneeling of athletes, including Colin Kaepernick.
Oh, so they're going to hire Colin Kaepernick then, right?
Oh, they have not hired Colin Kaepernick.
So how's this social justice?
Because apparently they're working with Jay-Z, who's also going to produce the the next Super Bowl halftime show.
How much money?
It ends in illions, I think.
So is Colin Kaepernick going to star in the halftime show?
Colin Kaepernick is still without a job in the NFL.
Oh, I see.
However, shortly after the announcement was made, Kaepernick tweeted the following. He said, "Today marks the 3-year anniversary of the first time I protested systemic oppression.
Yes.
I continue to work and stand with the people in our fight for liberation, despite those who are trying to erase the movement. The movement has always lived with the people." And he didn't mention Jay-Z. I've heard talk that he had talked with Jay-Z before this agreement was reached.
I seen him
but no word as to whether or not Jay-Z and Colin were on the same page moving forward. Jay-Z has been critical of the NFL as well over the past few years, rapping about it on a couple of songs recently. Mm-hmm. And so for a lot of people, and this is something that surprised me, I thought it was a sign of progress, because the NFL has been catching a lot of heat for social justice stuff.
Yeah.
And so, you partner with Jay-Z, somebody who has a microphone loud enough to maybe move the needle on some of this stuff. Uh-huh. But I'm starting to hear some backlash. Are you guys hearing about backlash from not just, we'll just call them traditional white NFL fans, but also from, Black Lives Matters activists and black folks who aren't too thrilled about this deal?
Well, I heard the Planned Parenthood is not too thrilled about Robert Kraft doing their next commercial either, though. But I don't know. I'm just saying.
What?
I'm just saying.
Robert Kraft is doing a commercial
for Planned Parenthood.
Yeah,
reel it back in.
Let me. I need to explain.
The past president, she cut that deal. I'm just saying.
Explain something to you about
what the heck is going on here.
Wait.
Reel it back in.
Social justice, my.
Wait a minute. Wait. Time out. This is funky politics. Real, right, and funky. This is not fantasy land. And as appealing as it may be to your comedic senses, we're not going to talk about Robert Kraft and Planned Parenthood. You know that's not true.
Well,
this is the second.
Nor is social justice in the NFL.
Nor is Koch Brothers Foods either. But you brought us 3 alternative facts today. 3 strikes you out, man.
President Trump's a good president. 4. Whatever.
But no, seriously though, do you guys think that this deal with Rock Nation? I mean, if we've been talking about the NFL and how they've treated players who are kneeling and all of that,
I would have to know.
Does this do anything to move the needle?
Excuse me. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry to cut you off there, but I guess I would have to know what it's for, because it seems to me like you're spending millions of dollars to try to find a way, to get African Americans to embrace a country that has yet to embrace them, and it doesn't have anything to do with football. It just so happens that the football games are the place where people can, in front of the widest audience, display their displeasure about the things that are occurring in this country. You can spend $10 million. You can spend $100 million. You can spend $1 billion. But as long as you have a chief executive officer of this country and the chief commander-in-chief of the armed forces that at every whim of his time seeks to demean, denigrate, and insult African-American women and men, Hispanic men and women, Muslim men and women at every chance when he's upset. There's no way that a black person, a Muslim person, or any person of color or alternative religion other than white Anglo-Saxon can look at that flag and call this place, America, as their home.
May I take the...
There's no place.
There is no place for it. You're listening to Funky Politics, powered by the KUDZUKIAN Network. I'm not familiar with all of the details of the deal, but I did see footage of Jay-Z talking side by side with Roger Goodell about creating opportunities for communities to speak about these issues, to be heard. I'm getting the feeling, again, I got to look at the details, that there are going to be endeavors to engage African-American communities with police officers in a kind of environment where, hey, I get to know you as opposed to I don't
NFL?
know you.
I thought that was
The
already
NFL,
happening. Why do you need
called community policing?
Yeah, I mean, why do you need the NFL to come and tell you?
First of all,
please.
Well, I don't know of a police agency that has as much money as Rock Nation, though.
It doesn't matter.
Or the profile.
But there are police departments that are doing that right now.
Yeah, these things are happening all over the country.
They've been happening.
Let me say this. This is the same week that a young white male knelt in the Pan American Games. This young man, a fencing champion, he knelt. He did something that you've not seen any of our other. Well, I'm not. Let me not cast aspersions. Right, this kid knelt. Now he's gonna bear the brunt of this from the Pan American organization, right? But he knelt, and he said he did it for one reason and one reason only. He was subscribing to the same position that Colin Kaepernick did, and then for you to have a Jay-Z, he and B or Bay, what do they call that chick? Is she Bay or B? I don't know.
Don't call her.
Oh God. Those two, oh God, they're gonna be calling me.
Oh
God, they're after me now. I'm done.
But don't call her a chick.
Her
name is Beyonce.
My name is Doc Ward.
Knows.
Okay, he said he called her that. But anyway, but my point is that you've got another young activist, a young white male who did this, but you got a black male who steps up and says, "Oh God, NFL, they're already all of a sudden now they're cool now. They're not cool." They're not cool.
And maybe they're not cool. I agree with you.
And I don't like this.
But the question is, and what I got to respect, I'll be honest. I don't know how it's all going to shake out. I don't know if it's going to make a hill of beans difference. Obviously, it is something of a PR move. But
that's all it is.
After 3 years, it finally looks like the NFL is at least trying. And you got to give them a kudo for that.
I don't. Why do I have to? Why?
Not give them a pass.
What pass to what?
No, you don't.
Because the alternative. What's the alternative? You don't want them to try, and then we'd be complaining for another year about the NFL.
I'm
not
looking.
doing nothing.
Shana Twain, or Shana Twain, whatever her name is.
No, I just want everybody to be what they are and let people be who they want to be. See, right now the issue is not about what the NFL cares about in terms of what they're willing to do. It's about their suppression of the athlete's ability to express how they feel about what's going on in this country. Let's go back and let's think about what this whole thing is about. This issue is not about just some generic, I feel a certain way. This was about someone standing up and saying, while we're out here playing football and enjoying ourselves and living our lives as Americans, there are young black men that are getting killed by police officers in the streets.
And so
the families cannot get a dime for their wrongful deaths.
Right.
No one can recover, and the communities are being torn completely apart. And we as multimillionaire football players can't do a damn thing about it, including just kneel to show that we need to take a time to pause and address this issue. That's what this is about.
And
can you say "damn" on this show?
I'm going to say it now because apparently the NFL needs to hear it.
And the players are protesting, saying somebody needs to do something. We need to be heard. These issues.
That's what it was about.
These issues need to be talked about.
Right.
And finally, Roger Goodell and the NFL show up and create a platform for these issues to be talked about.
Skip the NFL.
And they they finally show up and give us this platform. Okay, yeah, like I said, it's a PR opportunity. That doesn't mean you can't have good conversation come out of it or something positive. I just don't want it to be like, we've been complaining and fussing and complaining about all of this stuff, and then somebody finally says, "Okay, what y'all want us to do?" And then they do it.
Just let the players kneel. Just let the players kneel like they were doing it first, and you won't have to spend all this money.
Hey, Doc, does this guy play the arch conservative on the show now?
I don't know. You guys I got the golden arches.
I like to think
it. I'm bookended by arches.
Whatever.
But I'm just saying, why not just let the players kneel and demonstrate like they did in the first place? Then you won't have to spend $100 million.
This is a capitalist society. Let's just see where the money goes.
Well, it is.
We can shut it down if these guys unite and say, "Look, you know what? You're not doing Kaepernick right. You know what? I got a contract. I'll show up. But I'm not going to play 100%."
Okay, so let's say the players don't play. Right? They say, I ain't playing.
What they going to do? They going to cut them off? Are they going to cut them off?
But what I'm saying,
nobody's going to say they're not playing. I'm just saying let the players kneel.
But what I'm saying is if they don't play and if they kneel, right? What do we want to happen as a result of that? Like, do you want changes in policy? Do you want less black men and women being shot, because they got stopped by the side of the road?
Mm-hmm. I want that regardless, but the NFL's not going to deliver it to me. It's going to be the citizens.
The NFL was never in a position to deliver that.
Right. So why even get involved?
They can because of their platform, because of how many eyeballs they have each week, because of how popular it is.
Sure.
They can move the conversation in
a way
that
they have a bully pulpit,
and if they do it right, they can create a conversation in some of these conservative homes
already being created.
Some of these folks ain't heard some of these stories that we're talking about,
and they're not hearing.
And maybe they'll be open to it now.
Let the players kneel. Take the $1 billion that you're paying and put that money into the economies of some of these cities so that you can increase wages, so that the people out here working every day can have something to work for and work an honest day's job for honest day's pay, since you got money to throw around. Let the players kneel because they're already on television. They're demonstrating the need for us to talk. And the civic leaders of those cities where these injustices are happening and the other cities where they could happen are going to do what they need to do on their own. We don't need to have, and I love Jay-Z. I got all his albums.
I don't.
I got all his albums. But in this situation, we don't need to have the heavy hand of entertainment come in and solve a problem that the players, if you let them do what in the hell they were trying to do in the first place, will be able to solve and help on their own. Take a page, Roger, from the NBA. Let the players focus on activism. You focus on getting them paid so that they can take care of their communities.
I'm DC, and I love the Beehive. I'm sorry.
You better make sure that's clear. I'm just a fan of you gotta use the stick sometimes in negotiations, but the carrot, you gotta have the carrot too. And I don't know, it just seems like a carrot to me. I do like carrot.
Well, we love funky politics. Yeah, there we go. Let's keep it on.
Get out of here, y'all.
And we'll be back after this. Don't go away.
It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under.
The whole funk. Oh, that's funky. That's funky. Nothing but the funk.
Inside 901.
Inside 901. I am your host, Lieutenant Anthony Buckner. Here on Inside 901, we will unpack the vision of Shelby County Sheriff Floyd Bonner and the various divisions of the Shelby County Sheriff's Office.
We have a racial profiling policy at the Sheriff's Office. We adhere to it. We expect our officers to adhere to it.
Uniform patrols that provide police services to unincorporated Shelby County.
Inside 901.
KUDZUKIAN.
We got the funk. Funky politics on the KUDZUKIAN Network.
Coffee is the color.
And we're back on Funky Politics, powered by the KUDZUKIAN Network. It's been a really, really funky show so far today. We ain't finished with the funk just yet.
Really funky.
We got to talk a little bit about the presidential race. We've lost some political candidates now.
Yeah.
What? Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper has withdrawn from the race. Right.
He was in the race?
I'm sorry.
No, wait a minute. Hold on. He's a governor of Colorado,
which
sells more weed than anybody else, any other state in the country.
He ain't selling it.
Well, you don't know that.
Otherwise, he'd still be in the race.
He might be smoking it.
I do know that because
he got to be smoking it because he got in the race. This guy he's a weirdo. Why would you jump in there, Hickenlooper?
From what I understand, he's considering a run for Senate.
Right.
And meanwhile, in Texas, Beto O'Rourke has been is a presidential candidate. Obviously, his campaign has been kind of stuck in neutral. He hasn't been kind of able to break out into that next level. And there have been concerns, especially in the wake of the El Paso shootings, and some calls for him to abandon his presidential run and challenge Ted Cruz? Or,
it's John Cornyn.
John Cornyn.
He did crit Ted Cruz. He challenged him in the last election.
To run for
he did Ted Cruz.
But wow,
no, he did not do Ted.
No, I didn't mean it that way. I'm just saying anyway.
Move along.
Children. Man, y'all made me lose my thought.
Man, you got to keep up, man. You can't come on. You were talking about Ted Cruz. We're talking about Beto O'Rourke.
Beto O'Rourke relaunched his campaign again, I think for the third time, saying that this is just too important for him to abandon his presidential race to pursue the Senate. He has been one right out there front. In the wake of the El Paso shootings, in the wake of all of President Trump's rhetoric, he has been front and center, a white male calling president racist and white supremacist. My question is, are we getting too comfortable with that word? Like
racist?
Which word? Racist and white supremacy.
Yes, I think we are.
That's actually two words.
Well, that is true.
Yeah.
But but I think the point that Lee Eric is making is that are we using it so much now that the onerous or the newness of it, I think we become numb to it. Well, no, not us, but his constituents have, because they're saying
being whom, Donald Trump.
Well, yeah, 45. Okay. I only call him 45.
I know.
And so 45 believes, his people believe that he's not racist. He's saying what they want to say. There's so many of these folks that are on social media. They're on the news every day. They're defending this guy, including, I think I saw a couple of your cousins at the last rally, and they were very, very black, and they were saying some odd things. Okay. I don't know why they were doing that though. Doc,
I can't speak to what my cousins are doing. I'm not.
Well, would you please call them and tell them not to do that?
I can't.
Again?
I want them, but you know what though? I want them to participate in everything that any American can participate in, because it is our birthright as Americans to be able to express ourselves no matter how we feel, even if it is something that is seemingly against our culture.
But I'm asking you to tell Diamond and Silk not to do that again.
I'm not going to tell Diamond and Silk not to do anything, because it's important for us to have people on all sides of the spectrum in order for us to have reasonable discourse. No matter how much you
y'all
might
don't think I'm crazy
for
saying it, but our ancestors died so them women could support Donald Trump. So
the women could or couldn't?
Could.
Well, I don't know if
I don't know.
Our ancestors died so that African Americans could exercise every right that they are entitled to under the Constitution.
But that's what I've just said.
But not those two.
Free speech, gathering to support whoever it is.
Not those two.
I mean, that's understood.
No, I mean, but you gotta. I mean, what I'm saying is that we can't. I mean, that comes with it. Like, we can't be. Talking about we want to have free speech and our ancestors, fought and died for these rights, et cetera, and then somebody exercises them in a way that's, unpopular with us.
That's my point.
That's part of it.
That's my point. I should have hired you instead of saying it myself. But the bottom line is this. The bottom line is what we're talking about is, are we numb to white supremacy? I think that was the question that you were asking.
That's what I was getting at. Yeah. I mean, it's I've heard that word in our conversation, in our national discourse, more in the past month than I've heard it ever before. I think it's useful to have this conversation in mainstream America about white supremacy, but my concern is that people's ears are starting to clog up, and it's one of those words that's so racially charged, people think they know what it means, or they assume they know what it means, and this person over here's definition of what white supremacy is, and my definition may not be the same thing. And
I think that might be why you're hearing it so much, is because the country is trying to reconcile the fact that the whole issue of white supremacy and racism are fully out on the table for the first time ever.
Are there two different meanings to that, though?
Ever.
Are there two different meanings?
There could be two different meanings. There could be four different meanings. And I think to try to define it at this stage is a little bit premature, because it was all because African Americans, black folks, we always understood that there was racism, white supremacy.
Sure.
Are racism and white supremacy the same thing?
That's my point. That's what I was just asking.
White supremacy is the primary ingredient of racism.
Okay, I can go with that.
Okay, so it's two. You are talking about two different things, because technically, racism could be the promotion of one's race over all other races, and that, as a concept, is not necessarily a bad thing if you are a cultural fanatic. But when you start to believe that your race is the supreme race, and is the dominant race, and it is the pure race amongst and above all others, which is what white supremacy is, that's the poison pill to the whole cultural issue that makes your so-called promotion of your heritage become culpable. And this is Funky Politics, powered by the Kudzukian Network.
Speaking of being culpable,
but I think that's the thing.
I want to get to this other point here, and I don't want to beat up racism and white supremacy all day long because it's out there, it's been there, it's going to be.
But it's now out there. It's out there amongst white people who may be racist and who may not be racist, who may be white supremacists. Most
racists don't believe they're racist,
and they have to reconcile it. They have to actually reconcile. Yeah, but that's the whole thing. Why you're seeing it so much now is because white people are trying to absorb this concept, and not just absorb it for themselves, but absorb it in the context of how it affects black people. Well, and this is for the first time. Speaking of a powerful moment, the leading contender for the Democratic nomination, Uncle Joe. I call him Uncle Joe because he's
Joe Biden.
Yeah, he's like an uncle to me.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
He didn't see me like he used to, but anyway. So he says that poor children can learn just as well as white children.
Sure.
No, he didn't mean that. He meant poor children can learn just as well.
He
as
didn't mean to say
children.
it, but he understood it.
It's another gaffe, though. Is he just too out of touch?
I don't think that has anything to do with it.
No. I'm just asking.
Joe Biden is over 75 years old, man.
Uncle Bernie, how old's Uncle Bernie?
Uncle Bernie's over 75 years old. My point is,
does that disqualify him, either of the two, from being an effective leader for our country? I don't think so.
Wait.
No, but what I'm getting at is at a certain age, you gotta cut some folks some slack, man, for misspeaking. All of us, really.
No.
But here's your point. I think you're asking the question about whether or not his gaffes disqualify him or his age.
Well, no, I don't think the gaffes. I think the gaffes are telling, though. I think he needs to take time and understand his thoughts, because if nothing else, he'll have another person across him when it becomes a Republican candidate, and he'll eat him alive. Donald Trump will eat this guy alive.
You know what? And if Donald Trump eats him alive and everybody votes for Donald Trump because he beat Joe Biden during a debate, then that just goes to show you how shallow everybody is.
We just elected Donald Trump. How shallow? We elected Donald Trump. That's how shallow we are.
Let me pivot real quick, though. You guys give me a chance to pivot.
No, give me a chance to pivot because I got to get this out, because we've been talking about this for the last few minutes. Then you can pivot all we want. And I'll sit back in the chair. The thing about Joe Biden is this. What? Joe Biden has been vice president of the United States of America. He's vice president for 8 years.
Yes, sir.
For us to start micromanaging and he's been a rhetorical flourisher for 50 years.
Yes.
We know this already. You're talking about poor kids versus white kids. You're talking about things he says now. We can go back to where he said to Barack Obama, "Don't you F this up," over a microphone. We can go back to where he said to Paul Ryan, "Son, and all this other stuff." Bunch of malarkey, all of that. We know that's part of his repertoire. So,
he's been the vice president. Is what you're
his
saying.
record speaks for himself. And if we start nitpicking because of the things that we know he's going to say something wrong, then we're not really genuinely supporting him in the first place. And that's what people should say. Don't try to put it off on gaffes. Put it on the record. He's the only candidate that's got a record.
Well, I think Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris will say definitely that's not true.
They've got records? They have records. Oh, they do. And we don't have enough time in this segment. And I'm not supporting everybody, but
it sounds like you're Uncle Joe. You're in the pocket of Uncle Joe.
I'm not in for anybody, but I'm just saying I think it's a little disingenuous for people to talk about gaffes when the man's been vice president, and I haven't heard anything about that.
Pivoting a little bit, though, because we're assuming that it will be Donald Trump as the GOP candidate for 2020.
Wow. I don't think.
Do you have somebody better?
What we have heard over what we're starting to hear, and probably the most recent example of this is when Anthony Scaramucci, who used to be for 11 days the director of communications.
He's my cousin.
For like about 35 minutes, we're gonna believe him.
He was my cousin.
Has now publicly called for there to be a primary contender against Donald Trump, and he's now not the first one. There is a growing wave. I don't know if it's a wave. We'll call it a ripple.
Former Congressman Sanford out of South Carolina is talking about doing it too, as well.
Exactly.
You've got Governor Weld.
He can't stay out of Himalayas.
Well, you got Governor Weld out of Massachusetts that said he's going to be a primary contender. But can any of these people do anything?
Is there a legit primary contender to Donald Trump? And
no.
Can it help Democrats take back the White House in 2020 if
they won't sting him? They won't even sting him.
Personally, I think that all these people are in the can for Donald Trump anyway. They're creating the opposition and the controversy so that no controversy actually comes up. I don't think that there's any intent for any of these people to launch a legitimate and authentic campaign against him at all.
I hope there is a campaign.
I disagree with that.
I've seen some statistics that indicate that the last time, I want to say it was
Stats or
Bush
polls?
won, George Bush won, had a primary contender.
Pat Buchanan.
Well, sure.
Yeah, Pat Buchanan. And in that race, it helped weaken George Bush.
No.
So that Bill Clinton.
No. What helped weaken the president was, and that's a wine talking, but anyway, it's a good wine too. What helped weaken the president was his stand, and I was a supporter of Bush 1. I supported Bush 1.
George turned around on taxes, period.
Yeah, exactly. That's what did him. That's what did.
He told the people one thing, did another.
Exactly.
And that was the end of
it. And conservatives abandoned him is what they did.
And Pat Buchanan only got 30%.
Let me ask you this then.
Pat Buchanan got 30% of the vote in a what? I think New Hampshire primary. And everybody thought that was a big deal. He got absolutely...
He got mauled. For
the rest of the primary season.
Point blank, would you rather have a primary race on the GOP side or not?
No, it doesn't matter.
No,
it doesn't matter.
I
think that because the thing about it is it's not going to go anywhere.
No, this president will win the Republican primary.
Absolutely,
no doubt about it. Hands down. You could probably run Mary Mother of Jesus and she's going to lose.
Mary Mother of Jesus.
Yeah, she'd lose. Yes.
Trump loses.
No, Trump wins. He wins. He beats Mary Mother of Jesus
to the Virgin Mary.
Yes,
and that sounds like fake news to me.
But
it sure ain't funky.
But would the Virgin Mary be in the GOP?
No,
that's real. That's right. That's funky. And this is our break. Listener, don't go away. We'll be right back on Funky Politics, powered by the KUDZUKIAN Network.
Politics is what we do. We just make it funky.
Funky fresh. Get funky with it.
I'm Taquilla Banks, Executive Vice President with TNTP and a member of EdLock.
This is Robert Jackson, National Speaker, Educational Consultant, and author.
And you're listening to Funky Politics.
Funky Politics.
Funky Politics.
Funky Politics. Powered by the KUDZUKIAN Network.
Get funky with it.
We got 4 bars of real, so you'll know the deal. 4 bars of right that keeps you in the fight. 4 bars of funk that you can pump in your trunk. And 4 bars of this show so you can stay in the flow. We are real, we are right, we are funky. 16 bars, always real, always on your dial. Whatever that dial is, check us out. You'll get smarter.
Very good, Doc. Thank you for that. And it's been a very, very funky show.
This is very good.
See how I did that? Well, thank you for that, Doc. Feeling kind of funky myself there.
Yeah, go ahead.
A little bit there.
Go ahead.
Let me tell you something.
Go ahead.
I'm so used to Doc and his pros that let me say this to you. When you have a show like this right here, Funky Politics, right? And we've gone through the whole spectrum, right? We've talked about the NFL. We've talked about the presidential candidates. We've done it all. Immigration. I mean, you get it. You do get it real right here. You get it real.
We really haven't talked about, and I don't mean to. I got to rush it along because it's hot on my mind.
What's hot?
Or did we talk about it?
No. How did it those?
You've got a president of the United States right now.
No, we've talked about him.
That has approached the prime minister of Israel.
Oh God!
To prohibit the visit of 2 sitting members of Congress. And in the process of doing that, has just straight up out and out lied about them. 2 women. 2 Muslim women.
Ilham Omar.
Right.
And Representative
Rashida Tlaib.
Right. How do you do this? I mean, how do you, as the leader of the free world, I ain't talking about of the mother folk, I'm talking about the free world, talk against anybody who's an co-equal branch of government, right? In your country, on the soil.
Oh, I know.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
He ain't got no plan.
Oh, well, we back to plans again.
Well,
we're back to distractions again.
No,
these are distractions.
I think
Doc.
that's the evidence of a plan. I think that's the evidence of a plan to once again denounce and denigrate people of color, and of anybody that is
He's
not.
only exciting them though. He's exciting them though.
If Donald Trump has one plan in any of the escapades that he's participated in, he is trying to solidify his base. What he doesn't realize, I don't think, and this is why I don't think he has a plan, is that if he wants to win the White House, he's going to need more than just his base to turn out. I think he's forgotten that he lost the popular vote by more than 3 million votes.
You know what? I hear you, and it probably makes all the sense in the world. But I think the thing that he needs to really understand is that even in his base, there are people that do not want to see people be demeaned. They just want to make sure that they have an equal opportunity. And that is the thing I think that we're missing in the midst of all of this, is that there are people that are black, there are people that are white, there are people that are Hispanic, there are people that are of Asian descent, there are people of Middle Eastern descent in this country. And each and every one of them is loyal to their culture. We are a nation of immigrants. We're all loyal to a culture. What we all want is to make sure that we are never in a position where we are compromised because of our culture. That is the first thing. And to try to play this game where you constantly demean people and you see the same category of people being demeaned.
Yeah.
The same category of people that are being categorized in a substandard manner.
We don't do that on Funky Politics.
No, we don't do that. We we bash everybody. I don't care who it is.
We equal opportunity bashers on the KUDZUKIAN Network.
Opportunity on the
We do that. We do that.
But when you continue to exert that type of behavior, it's not just evidence of bad leadership. It creates an issue for us internationally. Because other countries will look at us and they see us supposedly the free leader of the world, the leader of the free world, and say there's instability. And when there's instability, guess what?
There's problems.
And guess who rises up?
Well, check this out. I'm going to do this. Because I know you guys want to invite me back, I'm going to make my predictions for 2020 right now.
You said we won't invite you?
No, you won't invite me back because of what I'm about to say.
We didn't invite you here. Yeah. The people said you had to come.
Well, yeah.
No. Corporate said you had to come.
Clippers in the finals.
Well, yeah. This is a temp job for me, okay? Whatever. I'm going to make my prediction here.
No, go ahead. We love
the president will lose Wisconsin. He will lose Michigan. He will lose Florida. He will lose Ohio. He will lose Pennsylvania. Let me hold on.
He'll be like Walter Mondale.
I don't care who the Democratic nominee is.
Fritz Trump.
When they win those 5 states right there,
Pennsylvania,
they're the president.
He'll lose.
I said Pennsylvania, Ohio, Florida, Michigan, and Wisconsin. I'm making my prediction today.
Minnesota.
No, Minnesota doesn't even count.
But I'm asking because that's Ilhan Omar's state.
Oh yeah,
and he's predicting that they're going to.
Minnesota is a Democratic voting state, and he will lose that. I'm telling you right now. You heard it first right here on Funky Politics, powered by the KUDZUKIAN Network. Wisconsin, Michigan, Florida, Ohio, and Pennsylvania be a Democratic president in 2020.
Do I have a prediction about
a bold prediction?
About a bold prediction?
Or not so bold?
Okay. I predict that this show is going to be over pretty soon.
I agree with you. And
you guys are nuts, man.
And my bold prediction is this. I think,
I won't be invited back.
This political environment is so charged. Everybody's so amped up. I really think that 2020 is going to be even more of a record-breaking voter turnout than we saw in 2008 when President Barack Obama was elected. And my greatest hope is that because of that voter turnout, all of the down ticket items, I'm not just watching the presidential race, I'm looking at Congress, because it's going to be Congress that actually writes the legislation for whoever the next president to sign.
Co-equal branch.
And hopefully things won't get jammed up in Congress that way. But my friends, Doc, DC,
countrymen,
lend me your ears. And listener, thank you for lending us your ears. And we'll see you back next time on the next episode of Funky Politics, powered by the KUDZUKIAN Network. Have a great one.
Funky Politics, hosted by Lee Eric Smith, Tasha Downey, and Marcus M.D. Ward. Recorded at KUDZUKIAN Studios. Directed, produced, and distributed by KUDZUKIAN.